fact that we have lost an entire generation of millennials and Gen Zers that could have been our students. It's because I want to make sure that we are training the next generation of folks that are going to be in this space. And I'm just a believer that God gives assignments to all of us, right? This is my assignment.
I got President Chris Ray on, and you're going to want to stay tuned because he has some nuggets. Because just like I was telling them off camera, I just personally believe that he needs to have his own Netflix special. This needs to be a TV show. Supporting Barbara Scotia is one thing, but President Chris Ray needs to be on Netflix. And I said it first, so if that happens, I got it on record. And without further ado, I'm going to introduce to you President Chris Ray. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. I'm doing well. Thank you so much. That was a pretty good intro. That was a pretty good intro.
I started, honestly, I started to go down your bio, but I'm pretty sure that that's a special all on its own. So I said, man, I'm just going to jump right in. Like I told you, I got me some notes here. I'm not going to say we're going to go through
Okay.
them all. We're just going to have a casual conversation. But there are some key points really wanted to pull out. But first,
Okay.
let's just jump right into this exciting thing right here. We're going to jump right in, then we're going to circle back. Carolina Greek picnic. I watched the video. I do believe, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I do believe that was the most people that has been on that campus dancing, doing their thing, the stepping and everything that has
Yeah.
been in many years.
Oh
Let's
yeah.
talk about that. How did you pull that off and what was that like?
Oh man. So you know, I'm a firm believer that if you continue to throw pebbles in the pond, when you throw pebbles in the pond, it creates ripples, and those ripples eventually will intersect. And so, taking the helm of Barbara Scotia College, all I've been doing is just throwing all these pebbles into the pond, and there are so many different sectors that have been taking notice of the ripple. And what they end up doing is reaching out and saying, "Hey, how can I support? How can I help?" And so, the individuals from the Carolinas Greek picnic, which is composed of North Carolina and South Carolina, and it's a young crew. It's a young crew, young entrepreneurs. Young guys who they're just out here trying to make a difference. And they reached out and said, "Hey, we want to be able to um, support Barbara Scotia." And so we were thinking, why not have this Carolinas Greek picnic on Barbara Scotia's campus? And then, of course, they said, we would love to make a contribution to the college as well. And of course, I was like, absolutely, let's do it. But I thought about it in a couple of ways. What I saw was an opportunity to um, expose Barbara Scotia to a new generation of young people. Because let me tell you, we lost our accreditation about 20 years ago. The population of students that was on this campus was your 19-year-olds and 20-year-olds. So these kids, were just born or weren't even born um, when Barbara Scotia was last accredited. And so you think about the fact that we have lost an entire generation of millennials and Gen Zers that could have been our students. And so, many of them came on the campus and said, "Oh my gosh, I've never heard of Barbara Scotia. I've never heard." So we were able to do exactly what it was that I was trying to achieve, which was to expose the college to a new generation of students and let them know that we are open, we're alive and well. Go out and tell that story, and it all worked. It all worked, and so man, we had a good time. We had a good time. I mean, well, they had a good time. I was working. I
You,
was
you know,
working.
you
I was
probably
working.
got out there and tried to do your steps too. I know you
No,
did.
no,
It wasn't caught
no,
on
I did
camera,
not.
but I'm pretty sure it happened somewhere. Which, that's a perfect segue into talking more about yourself. You were just talking about the accreditation, lost it over 20 years ago, as well as Barbara Scotia College itself has been alive for 150 years. S-
157 to be exact.
Yeah, so I have to ask this question, and I know people they know I go off script, so forgive me for that. But why you, man? After
Um,
150 years, the accreditation lost 20 years ago. The school had its problems, structurally as well as financially. And and I know that you are Army strong. Hey, shout out to Army. For those that don't know, um, very well. You have a political history as well. With all of these things, why you? Why did you take on this? I'm going to say a mammoth of a task, but you know better than I do. So why you?
yeah, that's a great question because the Lord knows I ask myself that every day. Um, you know, I'm just a firm believer. I'm a man of faith, um, and I'm just a believer that God gives assignments to all of us. Right? This is my assignment, and it is what I hope it to be is that I will be the individual that will lead this institution back to accredited status and back on the map to being an institution that is for our community, and educating the next generation of global citizens, right? And so I think that my background uniquely positions me for a time such as this. Um, yeah, as you mentioned, spent 22 years in uniform as a United States Army officer. Had an IT background as a signal officer, focused on cybersecurity at the end of my career in that regard. Um, Somewhere along the line, I got legally trained, got a law degree somewhere along there. So, there's a lot of policies and understanding that you have to digest when you talk about higher ed. I've had the opportunity and the privilege to serve as the mayor of a city for three
Mm.
terms, and so there's a political dynamics to this process as well. Our engagement with the city of Concord, our engagement with the county of Cabarrus, our engagement with the state of North Carolina government, our engagement with the federal government with challenges and issues that we have, and so coming with a background in government allows for me to engage those entities, those different levels, with relationships that I bring to the table. I've worked in corporate America, I've worked in the nonprofit sector, and so being an executive in both those areas, I get the honor and the privilege to serve currently right now as international president of Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity Incorporated. Phi Beta Sigma is a multi-million-dollar global nonprofit organization, and so I bring that organizational leadership to the table. When you talk about um, reigniting an entire college, restarting, jumpstarting an entire college, and so I think that um, uh, God said, "Hey, this is the guy for now, and I'm going to be here as long as I can to jumpstart and get this thing going." And so, yeah, that's me.
That, that's extensive. And yes, you're right. That is a list. I can see how your skill set, the history that you have had, plays a part into relaunching. I would say relaunching the school. Um, and I know a
That's right.
lot of people don't even realize, and I heard you say this before, that the school doors never closed.
That's right. That's right. For 157 years, the college never closed its doors. Whether it was administrative functions that we've been doing, the only time that we never had students um, was last semester, actually, when I took over in July of 2023. Um, and we did not have a transition recruitment plan between the old administration and mine. And so I took a pause last semester to kind of put my arms around the institution, kind of understand what was going on. But today, we have all of our students are online right now, and so we have a few students that have said, "Hey, I want to finish my degree and I want to go to Barbara Scotia." We've had some continuing education courses that we've produced. We now have some certification courses that we're doing, and so what it has done is it has exposed the college to over 40 plus individuals, right? That can say that I am attending Barbara Scotia in some type of capacity, whether it's as a student pursuing a degree, a student pursuing a continuing education certificate, or I'm trying to get some type of certification with the college. So it's been a busy 10 months.
That's a lot to accomplish in that time frame. But we got to
Yeah,
circle back because I'm curious. I don't know if anybody listening is curious. Being the president of a Greek fraternity, that's not my world. I can't speak on it. I went into the military, but I understand that is
right.
a high honor. You have to tell a quick story on how that even happened. It's rare because usually these guys, in my opinion, when you see the picture of them, they look like they're pushing about 100.
Oh,
and they've been
yeah,
there for a while,
yeah,
and I know you're not in that age group. So how in the world
yeah.
was your uncle passed it down to you? Something had to happen.
No, man. No one in my family was in a fraternity. I don't know how. So I got wrapped up with these sigmas, as I like to say. When I was in college at East Carolina University, so I had a full track scholarship at ECU. I was a track and field All American, so I was a track guy. I was a 2-4 guy. I used to like to run the 1 and the 2. I hated running the 4, but I was good in the 4. I hated that. But anyway, so I was really a 2-4 guy. When ECU on a full track scholarship, a lot of the guys on the track team were Sigmas. And so, we would just travel. I would pay attention to them. I see all the love they would always get from other Sigmas. And of course, they had sisters who were Zetas. And so, would always, no matter where we go, no matter what track meet we went to, Sigmas and Zetas will always congregate around the East Carolina Pirates. So I was like, you know what? But then they were also very active on campus. These guys were always doing community service. I mean, they were always about the service life. So I joined in the fall of 1996. Never in my wildest dreams did I think that I would end up becoming the president, the international president of the fraternity, where we have over 600 chapters around the world, and just thousands of members, and it's just a crazy, crazy. I can't even imagine. I still can't believe that I'm the president, right? But I met a lot of great men along the journey. They put their arms around me, and just poured into me at a very young age, at 19, 20, 21, 22, of what is possible when you latch on to positivity. And, they kept on putting me in leadership roles within the fraternity. And I just kept on performing. And of course, I was in the military at the same time. And so, and being in the Army, you're just a different kind of guy. You're just about performance, you're about producing, you're about accomplishing the mission. And so every assignment that was given to me in Sigma, that was about accomplishing that mission.
Mhm.
And so what it kept on doing was kept on elevating me within the organization, because then it would say, hey, well, let's give it to Chris. What do you think, Brother Ray? And next thing you know, I'm the president of a chapter. Next thing you know, I'm sitting on the regional board. Next thing you know, I'm the regional director at a very young age. And so what took someone 25 years to accomplish, I did it in 9. And it just, you know, I was just a high performer, and the brothers kept on supporting me and kept on giving me opportunities to demonstrate my leadership, and to where in 2021, I made it all the way to the top of the organization, and the brothers gave me the high honor to serve as the 36th national president. So we've been around for 110 years. We've made over 300,000 members, and we've only had 35 men who have served as national president of the fraternity. And so it is a great opportunity, because I know the impact that we have in our communities. I mean, I see the service of my brothers. I see the books that they donate to schools. I see them in the soup kitchens. I see them, registering people to vote. I see them having informationals and and community service events in their communities, not only in America but around the world. I see the lives that they impact, and I'm like, man, I get an opportunity to lead those group of men that's doing that kind of work. It's beyond what I could ever imagine.
I tell you. Oh my goodness. So, officer in the military, leading.
Yeah,
Um, then in a fraternity, leading. Barbara Scotia College, leaving. Oh, now gotta go back. You were a mayor.
yeah.
You see why I'm saying that this need to be a Netflix special? This all happens in one
Okay.
lifetime. This is one lifetime of your story here. You are we're a mayor. So you got to run that down a little bit because we building up a story here that we're gonna push later on in life.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so yeah, so all right. So I initially I enlisted into the army, right? I enlisted into the army, and then I went to officer candidate school, got commissioned a second lieutenant. I served almost 8 years active duty, and then I got out. I went and worked on Capitol Hill for um, uh, my dear brother, my mentor, my friend, John Lewis. So John Lewis was like, young brother, come up here and work for me. And so I went and worked in his office for a few months. But then I decided I wanted to go to law school. So I went to Barnes and Noble, bought a LSAT book. I read it for like 2 weeks. Then I went and took the LSAT and got a pretty good score. Got into William and Mary. William and Mary is the oldest law school in America, third oldest law school in the world. It's in Williamsburg, Virginia, and got into William and Mary. And while I was in William and Mary, I was like, "Oh my lord, I'm a broke, I'm a broke college student again." So I, I, you know, sought out the National Guard and joined the National Guard, and and got wrapped up in the National Guard. So I ended up being the only National Guard member that was had a signal background and then was being legally trained. So I started writing. I started writing cybersecurity policy for the um, um, for the Guard because I recognized that there was a disconnect between the National Guard and the active duty component when it came to cybersecurity. So I wrote this white paper about that, right? This white paper made it all the way to Congress, believe it or not.
Wow.
And we ended up getting funded down the road. So when I graduated from law school, um, I went home one weekend to see my grandmother who raised me. We lived in Spring Lake, North Carolina, which it was right outside of Fort at that time called Fort Bragg. It's now called I think Fort Liberty, and is right there between Fayetteville, North Carolina, Fort Bragg, Spring Lake. And so I went home, and she was like, she's like, "Oh, the town is going down, and you really need to just come back and run for mayor." And I was like, "What?" I was like, I'm not running for mayor. But, so of course I went to one of the city council meetings and I saw there were some opportunities there to kind of help my community. I did see some of the things that were going on and I just decided I was going to run for mayor. Um, and ended up, just coming home and filing the paperwork and ran a very hard campaign against a very beloved incumbent. Now, she had been the mayor for over 10 years, but had been on city council a total of over 30 years. And so, everyone who had ever ran against her had lost, you know. But I put together a pretty solid campaign and knocked on probably every single door in the city and ended up, being successful and winning. So between being the mayor, still being in the National Guard, going to drill, and then sometimes I would come down on assignments that would put me on orders for a month, 3 months, 6 months. It was not easy, man. But we were able to transform that city, develop a strategic plan that really positioned us. We had ran into some financial challenges, based off of past administration that we ended up, addressing. So it was a lot of lessons learned during that time period, and again, I chuckled. I was like, I can't believe I'm the mayor of the city I grew up in.
That's crazy.
But you know, and they elected me not once, not twice, but 3 times. And the fourth time, I just said, I wasn't. I was like, okay, I'm tired now. I gotta go do something else. And I didn't run for a fourth term. Everyone was like, I can't believe this, but it was my season to do what I was supposed to do, um, and it was time to move on.
Man, that's I'm waiting for the book. And I'm gonna put a stamp on that one too, because I said it first. If nobody else has said it, I'm on camera. The book. But a lot of things that you was talking about, especially in the political field, it kind of relates to what you are doing now with the college.
Yeah,
I've seen you, and we're gonna deep dive into a couple of these things, but I've seen you from everything with a shovel in your hand, doing the Facebook Live, showing the work that's going on the grounds, and that you know, even if you only did the live and held the shovel for that moment, and then after that,
Lord, I wish. Oh,
but I remember seeing you dealing with an Oprah situation, as well as recently sitting up in the White House with Joe Biden, President Joe Biden himself. Now, one have to ask. Now, this guy, he's the president of Barbara Scotia College. What is he doing dealing with Oprah? And then he's up there with the president. How does this relate to the school?
oh man, absolutely a great question. Um, it's about exposure, right? My goal as president is to make sure that everybody knows about Barbara Scotia College, whether it's Oprah Winfrey or Joe Biden, President Joe Biden. And the reason why is because um, I believe in what our institution stood for, and I believe in what this institution can be again. We have such a unique opportunity as we reimagine higher education. And what does higher education mean in 2024 and the future, right? And it's more than just about getting a degree. It's about making sure that there are those um, who got their certificates, that have certifications, individuals who are into the trades, making sure that that there is a place where people can come and get everything they need in order for them to be able to be self-sustaining for themselves, and then be a provider for their family, because we live in a society where you must have some level of skills in order to be able to produce resources to be able to survive, right? And so, whether it is you getting a college degree, or whether it's you learning how to use your hands, or whether it's you just sharpening up some of your skills from, like I said, getting a certificate or getting a certification, um, Barbara Scotia needs to be all of that,
Mm.
you know, for somebody. And so I need to make sure that I'm telling our story and letting them know. And then the beautiful part about it is in creating a space that's going to be affordable for individuals to be able to come back to school. Yeah, and so I want to take um, this affordable model and make it accessible for everyone, um, and not allow greed to be the order of the day, right? I've seen too many higher education institutions. It's metrics driven, um, to have X amount of students, to make X amount of profit, and I don't want us to be that. I want the core of this institution to be that it is affordable, that people want to come here to get skills that they need so that they can basically better their family and better their position in life. That's all a college should
Mm.
be. It shouldn't be anything else. It shouldn't be anything else. And because we are that intersection of a person's life that's getting that tool that allows for them to go out and to do whatever is necessary for their family and for themselves, right? That's all a college should be. It's like we've just given you a tool for you to go out and to do more and build more. Build, whether it's build more wealth, build more knowledge, build your family, build your generation, and you got it because you got a tool here at Barbara Scotia College. That's all this is, man. That's all it should be, and that's what I'm building here.
I love that answer. That was great. because the one thing that we talk about the most, especially when I started this podcast, is the education, today's education, and what that needs to look like for students, people in general, because everything is shifting right now. So there's an uproar going on around all the technology, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. But I like what you said about a place where people can come to advance and help their families. With the HBCUs, you know as well as I do, and probably more than I do, HBCUs have had in my opinion, a problem advancing over the last couple of years, and heavily dependent on alumni to donate and things of that nature, because let's face it, all of the resources are not there for HBCUs. But what you are talking about, to me, you sound like you are talking about something that's even different inside of the HBCU landscape.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, again, there are so many folks that have said, well, why did you take this opportunity? Um, and my response is, I believe that we have an ability to redefine the landscape, right? To reimagine it, to redefine it. Um, this is what the model looks like. The model is, you have X amount of students, you charge them X amount of tuition, and then that tuition is what sustains the college. You may be getting other um, income or revenue from, whether it's grants, private donors, or other entities that are giving to the institution. But the driver is really the tuition, right? So, you know, so DeMario enrolls in Barbara Scotia. It costs X amount of dollars to come here, and your tuition is what really takes care of all of the operational cost of the college, right? So I had to sit back and understand and reimagine what the challenge with a lot of HBCUs are. Because you're not, many of us are private, and when you think about some of the state schools, um, they're getting funding automatically from the state legislature. And then you have the alumni and you have all those other income. For private institutions like a Barbara Scotia, we don't have any of that, right? We don't have a state legislature giving us the dollars. We have to stay focused on our own dollars. And that's just from tuition and any private donors that are given to us, or any contributions, any grants that we are able to achieve or obtain. And so I had to start rethinking. I don't want to build the same model where you build the back the institution is built off of the back of a student,
Mm.
right? And so because what you end up doing is charging them a, you end up charging them a lot of dollars. 20, $30,000 a semester. I mean, a year, sometimes a semester, depending on where you're at, but a year, so by the time these kids come out of school, they're 90, 80, 90, $100,000 already in debt. And that's if you receive no scholarships, you just get all student loans, right? And you don't get any dollars that allow for you to have to pay that back. There's some students that do, but even those who do get those Pell dollars, you're still graduating with $40,000, $50,000 in debt. But then I become a teacher, right? Or I'm a counselor, or I'm a social worker. Individuals like that shouldn't have to go into those fields with any debt, right? Because already the pay isn't in this economy isn't enough to sustain them and their family and so forth and so on, right? But our society needs teachers. Our society needs social workers. And so they shouldn't be burdened with those debt on top of, on top of that. So I said, I want to build a model where, we lower the cost, but we increase the
Mm.
volume, right? So for instance, so starting at Barbara Scotia, starting in the fall of this year, to attend our institution is $2,500 a semester for a full-time student. That's it. $2,500 a semester, $5,000 a year,
That's beautiful.
$5,000 a year, right? And the reality is that by doing that allows for us the opportunity, to increase the volume of folks that we know that will come. That will then allow for us the ability to meet the needs of what we have because we have greater volume. So I don't have to be an HBCU with, that may have five, six, 700 students, and I'm charging them $30,000 a year to attend. I could have 15,000 students, who has a lower threshold of resources, and then be able to still accomplish what it is that I need to, because more people see value in wanting to come, because we're also giving you something. We're also producing the right type of um, outcome, right? So we're not just giving you a degree. You're actually getting access to great faculty, great individuals, who are going to give you a quality education, but you're going to get it at an affordable cost. Now, for some people, that's not going to compute, right? Some people feel like you got to pay a lot to to get your degree. Well, those aren't those. That's not the people I'm
Mhm.
looking for, right? I'm looking for the individuals who understand value, right? I'm gonna pay a lower cost, but I'm gonna get a great value. I'm gonna get a great education, but I don't have to, break the bank to do it. That's what I'm building here at Barbara Scotia College.
I love that. You hit the nail right on the head when you're, especially when you're talking about the cost of college. It kind of brings me to a quick little story. My son, about to enter into his 12th year. He's actually, he has a job on the side. He makes great money at his age. And so, we're
Right.
always talking about college, and he said, well, I'm making this now. I can be making higher once I graduate from school. But, I might go to HBCU for the experience. And then he said, but I don't want to have that debt.
That's
And
right.
you know what? He
That's
When
right.
he looks at me with that understanding,
That's right.
I just sit there and say, well, I can't I can't argue with you on
Yeah,
that.
you can't argue. I mean, it makes a lot of sense, right? Tell them to come to Barbara Scotia College. We'll give them tell them we got a
Yes,
scholarship
yes,
for them.
sir.
Tell them to come to Barbara Scotia. Tell them to come to Barbara Scotia College. We got them. And the thing about it is if he's already working. The great thing about it is we're building the largest online HBCU in the country. That's what we're going to build. We're going to build the largest online institution. Now we're going to still have resident students, right? We're still going to do commuter students, but I guarantee in 5 years, or less, we'll have 15,000, 20,000 students online at Barbara Scotia College. I believe it. I
I
believe it.
love that. Because at Skilledora, us here, we are, Barbara Scotia. We should actually get honorary T-shirts. Like we actually went there. We really support. And because I'll say the growth, I'm actually seeing it in real time. When you and
Yeah.
I first met, I think you said at one point in time when we first had a conversation, I think when you talked with my wife, you said you was the only one in the office.
Only one guy.
But
Only
look
one.
at you today. Look at you today, man. You are doing this campaigning. You got this campaigning down pack. I got to say that. Cuz every time we follow you, we see you somewhere smiling, holding a check.
That's right.
And
That's
which
right.
kind of just leads me into another question. It seems like to me like a lot of people are they coming out the woodworks and they say, "Hey, let me donate." Do you think that's because of the history of the school or your future vision? What's your thoughts on that?
So I think it's a combination of both, right? I think that there are folks who don't want to see this HBCU, close completely. I think it's folks who this institution impacted their life, and so they want to make sure that they do their part. But then I also think that there are folks who are buying into the future and the vision of the institution, right? Where, hey, we can be an online institution. We can focus. We can have a STEM focused curriculum. Or that be our bread and butter, right? Where we keep our foundational um, courses in divinity. Barbara Scotia was a seminary school, so we want to always make sure that we're producing pastors and counselors and teachers and folks that are in that space because there's a need. But I also want to make sure that we're also playing in artificial intelligence and cybersecurity and biomedicine. I want to make sure that we have degrees in that space as well, right? And so that's important, and I think that's critical for the future of the institution. And so, but I think people are buying into that, and I think that for the first time in a long time, there are those who believe, there's hope, right? They um, you know, I I always say um, every administration was a building block to Barbara Scotia. Uh, you know, the administration before me, the administration before that administration, they. So when you think about over the last 20 years, even though we didn't achieve accreditation at that time, they all played a role in why we never closed. They all played a role in how we've been able to continue to meet the challenges of the day. And I just think that, my background and my experience is just another ingredient to the whole to get us to where I know it's going to happen and we're going to be accredited one day, right? So Barbara Scotia, so we're preparing to submit our application for reaccreditation in October of this year, right? Very excited. We got a lot of work to do, but we're on track. And so the goal for us is to lean into that and to be prepared for that opportunity. It's going to Once you submit your application, it's still another 15 to 18, but we would have done it. We would have done it. And so but in order to get to this point, all those administrations before me had to do their part as well. And so you think about it in the whole Moses, in the Moses context, right? Leading university in the desert, right? Um, you know, uh, and my hope is that not that I am the Moses, but hopefully I'm the Joshua to get us to get us to the promised land, which is accreditation. Or time will tell. Maybe I'm just another Moses in the Moses era, to get us there, right? And then it will be the other person after me. But everything that I would have done would have set us up to move to that space, right? And as a leader, you have to know that it doesn't begin and end with you. It never will. You are literally just a piece of the puzzle in a greater tapestry of this thing called life. In this assignment that I have, I am just another piece. If God wanted Barbara Scotia to be completely closed, it would have been closed. Obviously, He didn't want that. There's been a lot of prayer that's happened on these grounds, and so He said that this is your assignment, Chris. So I am part of a group of other people that have been working on this assignment, and only time will tell if I am the person to complete the assignment, or if I'm just another individual that's writing the next chapter in the book, right? And because once we get accreditation, then that book is closed, and then we move into a new book, right? Now we're in a new era of the institution of now how do we build sustainability for the next 157 years? All right, now I won't be around that long, uh,
No, you'll be
but
running for
we're gonna be.
president around that time.
Oh
You know,
Lord,
I
oh,
know it's something next, and I ain't gonna let you. I'm not gonna spoil it for anybody. We have to come back and talk about the aftermath. But going back to the accreditation, so in the world where you got platforms like what is that course careers, if you're familiar with those, and all of those type of platforms where people are getting these certifications and kind of landing their job, whatever the case may be. Um, do you feel that the overall accreditation of the school is a major? Is it a hindrance, or is it something that just because you are a school that you need to have? If that makes sense.
yeah, I understand what you're saying. So I would think in the long term, um, it's definitely something we want, right? Because that builds for sustainability. That's a part of the sustainability formula. And so you want to be in an institution that is accredited. I think what we have an obligation um, to make sure we tell the story right now in this sense is to tell someone, hey, take a chance on us, especially if you're starting off as a freshman. You got 4 years, maybe five. By the time you walk across the stage, we're going to be accredited. So, so take that chance. Take that chance with us, because by the time you walk across the stage, we would have done what we were supposed to do to get us across the finish line. But then there are some people. I think people need to also know in the accreditation piece, it doesn't mean that we can't. We by the laws of North Carolina, we can still issue degrees, right? We can confer degrees on individuals, right? Accreditation Our loss of accreditation doesn't mean that we're not providing quality education. It's just that there are standards that you have to meet by an accrediting body, and we have not been able to meet those standards yet. So it doesn't allow for the student to get access to federal financial aid. That's all, right? But if you pay out of your pocket, or if you get a scholarship from Barbara Scotia College or from somewhere or somebody else, you can attend school here. Accreditation matters if you are trying to go to grad school somewhere, and they're like, well, you need to graduate from an accredited institution. But you got to ask yourself, how many employers ask, did you graduate from an accredited institution? No, they just want to know, do you have a degree? And so that's what we're letting our students know, our potential students and those who are interested. That's what we're letting them know. That the accreditation doesn't mean that the quality of the education is inferior. It's just that we haven't met the standards by this assessment body, but we will, so that we can have the moniker of being an accredited institution, right? Because that's important to some people, and everyone. Even though it's $2,500 to go here a semester, right? There's still some people who can't afford that.
Mm.
They still got to get financial aid, right? And so we want to be able to be in a space where we're able to do that.
Well, it sounds like to me like you need, maybe a bank VP that's watching this. You need some banking support to say, hey, when these students come here, you set them up with a payment plan in order to pay for this tuition to go through the school.
That's all. That's right. And the thing about it is, by us being online, by us being online, it's very flexible for, say that student who, maybe I'm not ready to leave home yet, right? But my parents want me to go to college, or that adult who needs to move up at their job, right? I gotta get my degree. Barbara Scotia should be one of the schools that you consider, right? We should be one of the schools you consider. Or like I said, if you're a student that I'm not ready to leave home yet, um, but I want to go start school, start with us, start online. You take your classes online. You can go work, still be under the protection of your parents until you're ready and comfortable to leave the nest. Right? There's all types of scenarios that are out there, and so I don't want to lean into the Western um, um, culture of thinking that as soon as you turn 18 you got to get out the house. That doesn't work for everyone. It doesn't work for every family, right? And so, but there, let us be a school that can be a part of your decision making process as you go through those next chapters of your life.
That's great. Now I told you I jump off script because something just happened while you was talking, and I don't know if you've seen it, and it might appear on the screen, but a thumbs up came on the video as you were speaking. And I'm going to tell
Oh,
you why that's crazy. Because my wife was telling me that she was FaceTiming with her dad the other day, and she said something about our community. She was talking some serious stuff with her dad, and a thumbs up came on the screen. So this is weird. So I'm just going to parking lot that and let you think on that, because you was talking about some serious thing, and the thumbs up came like in a bubble around your head, and I was sitting there like, what in the world? I said, that's crazy. It just happened again.
there it is. I see it. I see it. That's technology, man. That's that's
Hey,
that's that new software.
hey,
Hey, you didn't even know that
they're
existed. See?
listening now, but I tell you what, it segues right as we got some minutes left. Segues right into. I wanted to get your thoughts on the importance of understanding this new technology for, especially for like I always say, I keep it 100 at street terms on this channel. I talk to our community, and
Right.
there's a very I'll say there's a divided feeling amongst our community about this AI technology and how things are moving. And we at Skilledora, we are really pushing that, and I know Barbara Scotia is pushing like for the understanding of AI. How important do you think learning about AI and all of these other technologies that's coming out so fast nowadays? How important do you think that is for our community for its advancement?
Oh, it's very important, right? We live on this planet. So whatever's going to happen is going to impact us, right? And so the reason why it was important for me to make sure that we are a part of the conversation as an institution. It's because I want to make sure that we are training the next generation of folks that are going to be in this space, right? Because I don't want us to be left out. I don't want there to be a group of folks that's in a room developing a program, and there's not someone who looks like me that's not in the room to bring their perspective or give that perspective and be able to remind them, hey, you know, is this program that we just created, is it discriminating folks because of the color of their skin? Is the technology picking up, are we, is it picking up the right, algorithms as it relates to, X, Y, and Z, right? And so uh, we have to, our, you know I think that, folks like to have all these conversations around diversity and, blah blah blah. The reality is, look, culture, we all live on this planet. The only thing that we have that's in common is that we're human beings, right? But there are clusters of human beings that do different things. There are clusters of human beings that see the world in certain ways because that's called culture, right? And so when you're developing these types of technologies that are going to impact human beings, you have to make sure that those cultures are in the room as well, to make sure that as they are being developed, that they're being developed with all humans in mind, right? Because it is very easy to be in a room where you just design something and it only takes into account one race of people,
Mm-hmm.
right? Not We're not far fetched in that. It's happened before. It happens all the time, right? And so, um, in our community, we can't be afraid of artificial intelligence because it's in everything we do now. It's in our banking. It's when we check our email. It's when you go on social media to look at TikTok and Facebook and and Instagram. All of those institutions alone are using artificial intelligence programs to understand habits and behaviors. So it's happening, right? Your grocery stores is using artificial intelligence programs to understand shopping habits and knowing what we should buy and shouldn't buy, so that they know how to manage what they should order and not
Mm.
order. All of this is already happening around you. So don't be afraid of it. Lean into it, and figure out how you're just, even if you don't want to work in that space, just be aware of that space. So that's why the partnership with Skilledora is great, because you get an opportunity to take a artificial intelligence essentials course just to understand artificial intelligence. I may never work in artificial intelligence, but you know what? At Barbara Scotia College, if you click on our certification program, you could take a artificial intelligence essential course for free. To learn about just AI, and then and get your own development, decision making about it, instead of what you hear on the news, or what you hear on the sidebar, or you hear your friend who says, "Man, I don't want to get involved in that AI stuff." You are already involved in that AI
Oh
stuff.
yes.
Artificial intelligence is what's controlling our stoplights. They're we have grids that are studying traffic patterns, power patterns, consumption of resource. I mean, because because that data is what allows for us to build, whether it's smarter cities, smarter communities, and you don't want us to be left out of that. Just understanding what artificial intelligence is. It's not just robots,
I
right?
know, right?
And a robot that looks like a human being. It's about everything that's happening around you, um, that's using you know a lot of computer power to run a lot of different algorithms, or data, to be able to determine what potential outcomes will be.
I love how you said it. I always say that artificial intelligence actually started in 1950. So you
Yeah.
just you just said it all. I couldn't have said it better
Yeah,
myself. You actually hit the nail on the head. Well, we got a
yeah. This
couple of
is
minutes left,
yeah.
and I want to ask you. I know that you have a upcoming inauguration that's happening. Is this where they decide whether you're going to be the president again? How does that work? I know you're not going anywhere.
Normally normally when you get hired as the president of a college, you have to have a big, big investiture service, right? And normally comes, normally a year after you've been in office, just to make sure that you're the right fit for the institution and all of that stuff, right? So yeah, so my investiture service is going to be on the 24th of August. So it'll be 13 months after taking the helm of the college. So it's going to be a big deal. I hope that you and the wife can come. Uh, it's going to be a day long affair. The ceremony will be that morning, and then we're going to have a gala that evening. It's going to be fancy, fancy. But it's a fundraiser for the college, right? And so we're going to be raising money for renovations to our learning resource center. And so everything that we raise will go towards fixing up our learning resource center for our future students. And so, yeah, man. So I'm excited.
I know that you're busy and you probably got some more shoveling to do with the clothes that you got on right now. I know you're not going out there playing in the dirt today,
No, not today. Not today.
but I really appreciate you taking a moment out of your time to talk with us, and share your insight. Most definitely, sharing the more personal aspect of who you are, because when this hit Netflix, I just keep wanting to go on record and saying that, hey, I gave y'all all the data points that you needed to turn this into a show, and I'm pretty sure it's gonna happen, man. If they got one on Deion Sanders, President Chris Ray
Oh
is
man.
coming out next. It would make a great story,
Hey,
man. Shucks, a 150-year-old school. This guy takes it on and takes it. Oh man, that's a beautiful story. I will.
yeah.
Matter of fact, we need to film it ourselves, man. Bump that. We're gonna do it ourselves.
Exactly. Exactly. That's what I'm saying, man. Man, just do our own
Yes,
special,
sir.
man. Do our own
Yes,
special.
sir. Well, it's great. It's been a pleasure talking with you, man. And like I say, talking Techish with DeMario, everybody. We have the wonderful President Chris Ray on here. You know that his background is extensive. If you're taking notes, you're probably on about your fifth page right now. And I'm pretty sure you can reach out to him on your own. Just go to Barbara Scotia College, b-sc.edu. you
That's
you
right.
find
Go to
out
B.
you find out all you need to know. And if you really want a story, follow Barbara Scotia College on Facebook. Those lives that he put up, that it just tells it all. It just follow the page, and you be all caught up.
Oh, yes. Follow Barbara Scotia page, Instagram, Twitter, or X now, Facebook. Go to our website at b-sc.edu. Make a donation.
Yes,
You know, please make a donation. No donation. No donation is too small. Every bit counts as we, march towards the rise of Barbara Scotia College. So I invite everyone to be part of the rise.
that's right. That's right. Well, hey, until next time, y'all. We most definitely going to have him back on, because I didn't get through I only got through three sentences on here and maybe a couple on here. I need to dive into a little bit more that I know about. But therefore, we're gonna wait till next time, and we'll talk with y'all later, man. Have a great one.